Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Corporal Davis of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army, Assistant Relief Commander, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony you are about to witness is the changing of the guard.
Welcome back to the third post-1 interview with members of the Society of the Honor Guard, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I have to apologize for this being so late after episode number 2 with John Ranum, but I got caught up in working with items surrounding the National Salute and the Centennial this year, and it pushed me behind. I do hope that everybody had a great Veterans Day and was able to spend it with family and friends. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of the organizations that participated in this year's National Salute, from the great states of Oregon to Florida and all the states in between. Thank you, and without your support, we wouldn't be able to make the National Salute process nation happen. So this edition, we're going to be talking to Bill Barton, who was a tomb guard from 1957 to 1958 and was also at Post 1 prior to going down to the tomb. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. Okay, welcome back to the third episode where we are talking with soldiers who were assigned to the 3rd United States Infantry, the Old Guard, and specifically to Post 1 on Fort Myer, Virginia. Today we're talking with William Barton, who was a sentinel at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier from 1957 to 1958, and he's from Jonesboro, Georgia. So I'd like to welcome Bill to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Well, let's talk about you for a little bit. When did you come into the Army?
I graduated from high school the 1st of June in 1956, volunteered for the draft, was inducted August the 15th of 1956, shipped to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training, then advanced infantry training at Fort Jackson. From there, selected to go to the Old Guard company up in Fort Myer, Virginia.
When you got selected there at Fort, you said Jackson?
Yes.
Was it a recruiter that came down and just pulled you aside, or was there a briefing?
No, I was selected as the general's orderly, or whatever they called it there at Fort Jackson in the advanced sentry mode, and I guess that's how they selected my name. When it was time to muster out after 8 weeks, there was 30 of us that was called, 30 names, and we were selected to go to the Old Guard Company in Fort Myer, and I was one of 5 that was assigned to the Honor Guard Company from that number of 30.
And so what company was Honor Guard Company at that time? Was it still Alpha Company?
Yes.
Okay. And what platoon did you get assigned to once you got to Honor Guard Company?
I don't recall that. I was on the 3rd Relief when I was assigned to the tomb, but I don't remember what our platoon was.
Okay.
I was assigned to the marching and also the Honor Guard detail in Arlington Cemetery for the burials.
Okay. And how long do you remember staying in that platoon before you went down to Post 1?
It was probably, I want to say, 6 or 8 weeks.
And were you selected to go to Post 1, or did you have an interest or know about it beforehand?
I think that Sergeant Daniel asked me if I wanted to be assigned to Post 1 with the opportunity of going to the tomb. And I think that's how that came about, and I volunteered as well as volunteering for the assignment to the Honor Guard at the tomb.
Had you ever heard about or seen the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier prior to being drafted into the Army?
I had the opportunity to go up there. I think I was in the 7th grade with the school patrol, and we toured Arlington Cemetery at that time, but my memories of it was very vague of it, of course.
Not a problem. When you got assigned to Post 1, can you remember the breakdown of the individual reliefs or how many people were assigned to that post?
No, I can't. It seemed like, I think it was 2 reliefs,
Okay.
and you was on one day and off one day.
And can you just briefly tell me what the basic mission of Post 1 was?
It was to protect the chairman of the chief of staff, Maxwell Taylor. It was his home there on Fort Myer, and we guarded it 24/7 with live ammo.
And were you carrying just the M1 Grand at that time or any other firearm?
Just the M1 Grand.
Do you
Yes.
remember what your general or any of your special orders regarding your weapon were?
No, sir, I do not.
Well, I happen to have the 14 special orders, which is amazing to me. During my time in the Army, we had 3 general orders, and I understand that during your time, you had 11 general orders. And then for the specific Post 1, there were 14 additional orders. Did you have to memorize all of those?
I think we did. I think that we did memorize the general orders.
So I want to read to you one, just maybe it'll jog your memory. This is Special Order number 13. It states, I will load my weapon only when the safety and security of the personnel and property within the limits of my post are threatened. I will fire only when there is positive evidence that the use of firearms would be the only means of preventing physical injury or damage to personal and or government property within the limits of my post. Did you ever have to load your weapon while you were on duty?
You know, I was under the impression that we loaded a clip when we went on duty.
Okay.
I could be mistaken, but it seemed like that's the case. And I had an occasion about 4:30 or 5 o'clock one morning when walking the post around the facility there, uh, and General Taylor came out and he walked up towards me, and I challenged him. And he gave me his information, and I asked him to advance to be recognized. And it seems to me that yes, I thought, man, I've got a loaded weapon here, and uh, I could do some damage if it was under the wrong circumstance.
How did General Taylor react to you challenging him while on post?
He he was very good, and of course when I recognized him, he asked me. He said, "At ease," and we had a short conversation there. He asked me where I was from, and my background history and so forth, and just really a nice short conversation. But I was really impressed.
Did you ever have interaction with General Taylor prior to that?
No,
And you said it was about 4:30 in the morning. Was he just on his way to work down at the Pentagon?
he looked like he was just out for a stroll. He was just walking around the facility there, and he just looked like he was out. Couldn't sleep and wanted to get out and exercise a little bit.
Nice. So did the general come out of the back side of the residence, or did he come out the front door?
It would have appeared to me, I remember thinking that he came from the back of the house.
Were there lights of any type, on back there, or is it just complete darkness?
There was enough light. I don't know whether it was a full moon or whether I don't remember any spotlights being on, but there was the light. It was light enough for me to distinguish that it was a person uh, coming toward me, and that it was a male person. And as he got closer, then I challenged him, and he identified himself, and of course, then I recognized who it was.
Did they issue you a flashlight of any type, or were you just had your weapon and that was it?
That was a weapon, and that was it, as I recall.
What was the uniform that you worked in during the daytime? Do you remember?
It was the green uniform, the olive green uniform.
You had sent me a photo of it looks like post one with the two reliefs and the two sergeants present. Was this the uniform that you were talking about?
Yes,
Okay. It looks to me like the Sentinels are wearing jump boots. Did you wear jump boots?
yes.
But you weren't a paratrooper during your time in the
No,
military.
no.
So that was the uniform was that for the whole honor guard or the entire regiment?
I only remember for the honor guard. I can't remember for the regiment. That was the dress of the day, as I recall. And again, having not served but a short period of time on post one, uh, my memory is not probably as strong as it should be.
No, that's quite all right. It's been a few years since you were there. Um, I noticed that in the photo you've got the two sergeants in the front, and I believe you told me on the left was Sergeant Daniels, and the right
Right.
was Sergeant Hale. Is that right?
That is correct.
And they're wearing what looks like to be the blue uniforms compared to what the Sentinels are standing in. When did
Right.
the
They're in the dress blue because they were in charge of the tomb also.
So the Sentinels at the tomb, did they just wear the blues or did they also wear the green uniform?
We wore the blues in the wintertime, and in the summertime we had a what was called TW, tropical worsted,
Okay.
with a shirt and trousers.
And everybody's got their Sam Bowie belt on. It looks like there's at least a couple corporals that were armed with 45s or M1911s pistols.
Right.
Okay. And so you had about three Sentinels per relief at post one there. How long were your shifts?
I want to say it was 2 hours.
Okay. When you weren't on your post, or you've been relieved of your duty out there at post one, I'm assuming you went back to the company.
Yes.
What'd you do during your downtime, but before you had to get reposted?
Well, the most important time that we spent was the training to become a guard at the tomb. There was a mat up above our billets there, and we trained up there, waiting for an opening. I was on the third relief, the shortest relief, and an opening came available pretty quick, like for me, and I went on out to the tomb.
So during your time at post one, do you have, other than running into General Taylor one night, any other special memories that you remember down there?
That's the only one that I can, and I've racked my brain since you contacted me about this, and that's the only thing that was outstanding to me during that period of time.
Do you remember any of the other guys' names that were with you at post one?
I recognize the faces of just about, I would say, 70% of the guys that's shown in this picture, but for the life of me, I can't call their names. I could possibly go back and dig up some names. I do see Denny Summer there, but I can't, and their faces are very familiar, but I just can't call their names at this point.
Oh, it's understandable. It's like I said, it's been a few years since you were down there doing that duty. Um, Out of those guys though that you do remember being at post one, how many of them do you think made the cut to go to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
Of the ones that's shown in the photo here, I would say that 4 or 5 of them was assigned to the tomb at a later date.
And it looks like in the photo that almost every Sentinel is about the same height. Was that a requirement to be on post one?
Well, yes, when you were selected, the minimum was 6 feet and the maximum was 6'4".
Okay.
And the shortest relief, the third relief, started at 6 feet, and then the first relief was the tallest, up to 6'4", and the second relief in the middle.
So when I was talking to Jim, he mentioned that when he got to the regiment, he had learned to march Army style at basic training in AIT, but then the regiment really focused that skill and they made him walk on curbs to learn how to walk like a tomb guard and not bounce and kind of just glide across the ground. Do you remember any special training techniques that they used to get you up to speed?
Yes, we were instructed how to march, but mainly that was more important as we were training to go out to the tomb.
So were you on post one? They didn't really want you marching during daylight hours the same way you did when you went down to the tomb. Is that right?
The way that I remember it was that they didn't want you bouncing up and down like you had springs on your feet as you were marching, but you wanted to have, stay in cadence with the whole group that was marching, so that you looked like one fixture moving it all at the same time.
Nice. One of the one of your special orders at the time were, and I found this almost contradictory, but special order number 4 stated, "I will walk my post in a relaxed, alert, soldierly manner at a cadence that will permit the proper accomplishment of my prescribed duties." Relaxed, alert, and soldierly manner just didn't seem to fit the image of a tomb guard.
Right. And it wouldn't pass muster out at the tomb either, I can tell you that.
Yeah, relaxed, alert, and soldierly manner just doesn't work for this tomb guard either. That's interesting. So, did you ever have to challenge anybody else besides the chief of staff, or I'm sorry, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Well, Bill, I do appreciate you taking the time today to sit down and talk to us about Post One. It's one of those assignments in the Army that hasn't been captured in history, and we're working with the Old Guard Museum there at Fort Myer to try and capture some of the memories of the soldiers that served. And we will definitely be adding this interview to their files so that future generations can understand this very unique assignment and your participation in it.
Well, I thank you so much. And if you don't mind, would you email me a copy of the orders there? I would like to have a copy for my records.
You bet. I just got back into town and opened the mail, so I haven't had a chance to scan them. But once I do, I'll get them out to everybody that has responded to this Post One request, so that you can live it. And then if something jogs your memory and we want to talk again, by all means, let's set it up and have another chat.
All right, and if you get down this way, look me up.
I most certainly will, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time today and talking to us.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
All right. You be careful down there.
All right. So long.
Bye. Thank you again for listening to our interview with Bill Barton about his time at Post Number 1 at Fort Myer, Virginia. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll tune in to the next episode as we continue to explore what it's like to stand guard at Post Number 1 in the late 1950s and early 60s. You can always stay up to date with what is happening within the society by visiting us on our social media platforms as we continue to post these to our YouTube channel, our society Facebook page, and of course, our main website at www.tombguard.org. As always, I encourage you to take a moment to visit us on our social media platforms and let us know how we're doing or make suggestions on future episodes that we need to work on. As the centennial anniversary of the burial of the World War I unknown soldier approaches on November 11th, 2021, you can expect to hear more of these types of interviews being aired. And I do need to take time to thank again Rex Looney and Jan Lilly, the family of Neil Cosby, and the Old Guard Museum for the photos that they shared to make this episode possible. Please don't forget to share this with your family and friends. And until the next time, please be safe and line 6.